Right. Hi, Ruchi. How are you?
Hi, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's Friday.
Oh, what does Friday even mean anymore? Oh,
That is a good question and an interesting way to start the return of the Rob and Ruchi show. Season 2, episode 1. What does Friday mean? You know what it means to me? It means that I can do work on Saturday and Sunday.
oof. Yeah, this is the new normal, right? If we're thinking about where we were a year ago, you were busy kind of doing the same thing you are doing now, just in a different medium, right? Facilitating.
Exactly. Still facilitating, but getting on this thing called an airplane, flying to a location, checking into a hotel, spending all sorts of time doing the work, and then flying home. Where now, doing the same thing, but doing it virtually. And it is something very, very different.
Yeah, well, the virtual enablement is I think an interesting topic for us all these days, right?
Yeah.
Because in a lot of ways, it seems like it streamlined operations, cut down costs, made it a lot easier to reach scale, but at what cost, I might ask?
Exactly. What is the cost? So, Ruchi, that is a nice way to get into the topic of season 2, episode 1. So, what's new?
What is new? Well, I can say from the instructional design perspective, some of the trends that I've been seeing are really companies and people trying to grapple with shifting legacy ways of learning and teaching to a new medium and with new imperatives. So, two examples, we used to see a lot of businesses flying people out exactly to the kind of sessions you were just talking about, Rob, because we know that in-person learning allows a kind of inclusivity and a kind of knowledge transfer and application that we weren't sure virtual did before. But now,
Right.
because of this pandemic environment, we're being forced to kind of learn how to leverage technology and learning in a completely different way.
So you know what's interesting? You just shared kind of a sentiment about the experience of flying people, getting them together physically. And one of my biggest ahas in terms of what's new is a term that I've coined called virtual intimacy.
Mm.
And when you think about those two words, virtual and intimacy, they don't usually go together very well. But one of the things that we have discovered is that in a virtual environment, when you set it up well, when you introduce people to each other, when you create the opportunity to get to know who they are, look at them like I'm looking at you,
Mm.
but also to hear better, to see better, it creates a different sort of intimacy. And I know that from my work, I'm able to actually develop better relationships with the participants in a virtual environment than I do in a physical environment.
That's so interesting. I think it makes me think of something that's been very near and dear to my heart, which is thinking about how to make learning more equitable in corporate spaces,
Mm,
and how to make our learning more inclusive, especially as we think about, virtual being an equalizer, which I think is a
yes.
concept we're really seeing. Would love to know from your experience, what are some examples of more inclusive learning or equalization that you're seeing?
So it is a fascinating topic, and the intersection of sustainability, diversity, and inclusion in virtual learning. Who would have thought we would ever have this conversation? But it's actually really happening. It is truly the great equalizer. I'll share with you something that just happened to me last night. So my days now are literally 24 hours a day. I can start in Europe at 3 a.m. US time, it's 9 a.m. in Europe, and then do work in the US, all virtually. And then at 9 o'clock, get on a session in Asia. And a session that we kicked off last night for one of our big chemical company clients, we had the four top leaders of the company stop by.
Mm.
And guess what? They're now talking to and sharing and creating vision for people they never would have met before. And you can talk about scalability in that way. The
Mhm.
other thing, to answer your question, kind of further follow it up, because many organizations are spending less on travel and lodging and food, there is money that's been allocated to learning that they are willing to invest back into other people. And I have had client after client after client say to me the following, you know what? We had budgeted a lot more money. Why don't we push this out to wider audiences?
Mm.
Why should it be just the elite get to go through that beautiful simulation and all of this great training? Why not push it down to the masses? And we're seeing that's happening, and they're so appreciative. But more importantly, performance is going up.
Yeah, I saw a really interesting term for this, democratizing leadership development, because we've often seen some of the upper echelons of leadership get a lot of really great like coaching advice, a lot of great advice on how do you actually lead rather than manage. And now you have the ability to scale these trainings in a way that you weren't able to before. So that's one great element of equality. The
Yeah.
other one that I'd love to know a little bit more about, given you facilitate so much, is in-person environments. I've known from my experience can often be tough for silent people
Yeah.
or introverted people, maybe people who are like a little bit more thoughtful about internalizing the concepts. Have you seen anything particularly successful in your deployment these days of bringing those kind of learners in?
Yeah, and I'm going to surprise you, I think, a little bit with this answer. So not only do I think we've experienced and we've seen people who have a different sort of personality style lift themselves up and feel more comfortable, but I'll follow that up by saying this virtual space also is creating a different comfort and safety zone, not only an emotional safety zone where I can learn in a different way. It's interesting. I can sit here and I can go through a simulation or workshop, and then if I didn't get something, I can go back and go look at it again. I feel more comfortable asking questions where in an environment, I may not have that comfort level with people around me saying, oh gosh, I can't believe Ruchi asked that question. But here's something else, another amazing aha discovery. I've had participants say to me, you know what I love about this? I feel physically safer. I don't have to be sitting next to somebody who all of a sudden, wait a second, why did that leg touch my leg? Why did that person's arm kind of come a little bit close into my comfort and safety zone? I think for really thinking about safety and diversity and inclusion and you know borderline harassment sorts of situations, this has taken a lot of that away from things that happen when people in person to person.
Interesting. It makes me think, even for people who might not be, operating with malicious intent, right? If you think about people who have space issues, you think about neurodiversity, you think about folks who would rather use the chat modality than raising their hands.
Yeah,
Virtual learning opens up a lot of new avenues.
it does. And in addition, one last funny story.
Mm.
Somebody also said, and you know what? I never have to worry about somebody's body odor again.
Oh, good. Well, in a lot of ways, I think some of the foibles and funny parts of everyday work are gone, and it takes a little bit of I don't know. I think it takes a little bit of the charm of work away as well. So one of the things that I've been really thinking about for virtual learning is how do we start investing more time into kind of the human aspect of connection, bringing some of that stuff that we used to love about in-person training, so water cooler
Yeah.
discussion, sharing and being vulnerable, back to the space.
Yeah, it's a good question. And so there's some movement and some evolution of those sorts of concepts. So we've now started to see the virtual coffee 15 minutes. So
Mhm.
people actually are scheduling 15-minute, grab a cup of coffee together. Let's just check in and touch base,
Mm.
just in a more informal way. But I've also now started to participate in 15-minute check-ins on learning, where you have these opportunities to integrate your work learning balance into your schedule, and with different sorts of tools and modalities really optimize the calendar in a way that we've never been able to do before. But again, it's creating that network, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've met so many people over the last 7 months through these virtual environments, and I feel as though I really know them, but I've never actually met them,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
is just another aha.
Well, Rob, you and I used to talk about this a lot, but I think millennial workers and increasingly Gen Z workers are going to be telling you, like, this is how we connect and how we
Yeah.
were raised to connect. And so in some ways we're thriving with this new shift to learning online. And in other ways, I think it's an adjustment for businesses to figure out how do you continue operating, what things you have to let go of, what kind of things do you have to like shift in terms of values and even standards to accommodate this new virtual way of working.
And to that point, I think we're also seeing different age levels and generations, their comfort with multi levels of interactivity. So for example, we could be in the Zoom and you and I could be chatting with each other. Hey, Ruchi, what are you going to say next?
Yeah.
At the same time, if we had participants, we're chatting with them. But then there's the informal channels that are going on. Right next to you, you have your mobile phone, and that's being chatted on with something else, or a whole different group, or a whole different set of people on something else. So it's really interesting. And I've noticed that some of the more, I'll just call them the mature audiences, who have struggled just to say, what's this Zoom again? Versus the millennials and even the Generation X and Zs, that they're actually more comfortable with multiple things going on.
Yeah, and I think it's a testament to the state of the world. A lot of us who live in a post 9/11 society have gotten used to kind of the inundation of information and multitasking. I will say though, I mean, we talk a lot about how positive some of these trends are. One of the things I think is really important for us to acknowledge is how hard it is, how unsustainable it has become for some people. And this idea of boundary drawing, especially when, you know, your work does not leave your home anymore.
Right. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. And I think that might be the word of the year. How you doing? I'm exhausted. Oh, what's going on? I don't know. I'm exhausted. It is mentally exhausting. And when you think about it, wait a second, we haven't really left our chairs.
Yeah.
But that emotional energy, that brain energy, it is being burned at rates that nobody's ever experienced before.
I find that one of the things that has energized me and energized the clients I've worked with in the past has been really thinking about how do you innovate through difficulty. So looking at this time of life as any other kind of challenge and thinking about how do you ideate in the name of continuous improvement? How do you ideate in the name of, tackling a barrier or a boundary? And I find that energizes people because you get to bring in an element of work that you don't often get to bring in, which is, I think, purpose and personal meaning. And so, as I think about what you do and business acumen, coaching, leadership, how are you helping people connect to their own personal meaning and what they can bring to their role?
That is a great question. And again, I think my answer is going to surprise you a little bit in the fact that scalability seems to be creating greater connectivity to purpose. And what I mean by that is I have now seen senior executives, CEOs, leaders of sustainability movements, for example, have a different sort of forum that can create greater alignment and greater purpose. And so, for example, one of the newest simulations we're working on is a global sustainability simulation that's being sponsored by the Chief Sustainability Officer. And her vision is that, oh my goodness, I have an opportunity to let the people, the 66,000 people of this company, know that we really are here with a purpose, that we have a vision of creating an environment that's not just carbon neutral, but it's carbon negative, that we're going to actually create more carbon through what we do. And so it's really interesting to see how that is now filtering out to the people within the organization who feel so much better about what they're doing at work and are just even more energized and aligned.
Yeah, I think that piece of feeling better about what you're doing at work, especially if you think about where our nation is. Let's leave aside the global pandemic.
Please do.
But, if you think about just the influx of things that an average worker is dealing with today, or an average business, you're dealing with an uncertain business landscape, always VUCA, as always.
Yep.
You're dealing with, the domestic political landscape. You're dealing with uncertainty due to COVID. And you're dealing with a lot of like economic instability as well, and the guilt that comes with that. And
Yep.
so what I found is companies that are finding stronger purpose and foothold and doing things for society are also motivating their workers to be more productive and find more joy in the work that they're doing.
And the other thing that I have discovered in a follow-up to that, it's not just the words anymore. It's also the metrics, and the metrics that matter, so that people can actually see it and feel it in a different sort of way. Because anybody, as we all saw during some of the racial unrest that
Hmm.
happened earlier in the summer, oh, great, you put up this, banner on LinkedIn to tell us about how wonderful your company is and how, oh yeah, you've been doing this for years. Okay, it's a banner. But when you start to actually give metrics that are accountable to it, then
Hmm.
it's a little bit of a different story. And I really do I think people feel more engaged and more motivated when they know that they're being measured and being held accountable.
I think this is a good topic to bring our talk for today, maybe to a close. But
Yeah.
uh, is if we think about kind of the landscape we're in right now, especially due to thinking about more equity in society, racial equity, equity across a lot of different identity dimensions. One of the things I've seen is training being held more accountable to actually connect to like hiring pipeline goals, understanding who do we have, why don't we have the diversity that we should, how do we bring more people to the table, and then upskill our people internally to create a more inclusive environment. So one of the things I think we can revisit in our next talks are, what are we seeing in the space in terms of bringing a more inclusive learning environment to the table?
Absolutely. And I'll leave you with a little teaser. One of the beauties of running a digital simulation and having different teams of all levels of diversity on them, you can actually start to quantify success. And the teaser is, guess what the data shows? The more diversity you have, the better the performance. For next time, Ruchi.
Amazing, Rob. Well, as always, this was an awesome talk. Cannot wait to see you virtually again. And everyone else, I hope you tune in again too.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.